Hi everyone, it's Dr. Lusheen, and this is our week 3 review. I realize I'm posting this a little bit later than I normally do, but because of the July 4th holiday, which I hope you all enjoyed and you got to rest up, some students need some extra time, and so I just got those. I received them yesterday, and so today is Friday, and so got the grading all done, and so let's kind of talk about it. We'll talk about a little bit about week 3, week 4, and some other expectations for the course. So here is an updated performance table. As you can see here, we're getting about an average of 2.3 hours per week on the Canvas site. Median is about 1.1. Doesn't mean anything for you guys. It's just something I use to track things, just to make sure people are at least getting in there and playing around a little bit. Current average is about a B, but the median is an A. The reason for that is that we've got 2 students who are currently underperforming because they're missing so many assignments. I guess I'll reach out to them one more time and let them know that, hey, you don't turn it in, you get a 0, and the 0 affects your grade quite significantly. For the Axe investigation assignment, I gave each of you individualized feedback with your scoring. I read everybody's submission at least 3 times to make sure I got it right. So as you can see here, the average is about 87, which is just under a B+. The median is about an A-. As far as the sections, you guys did the best for determining whether it was OSHA recordable or not and provided the support. The lowest was the attempted evaluation, though these are all pretty tight together. I believe here's the 2 things I'll say. One is that there are 2 classifications of techniques provided in the Oakley book. The first was more of a pre-accident evaluation, attempting to determine what events could cause injury. Sometimes we can apply those post-accident, but for the most part, they tend to be event related. And when we talk about event, it's something that's more expected, systemic. It's what to be expected. We're going to get this job done. This is the job. Whereas the other, with a cause and effect, it tends to be more post-accident, which these all 3 are. Post-accident, and then what we're attempting to do is identify the factors that contributed to the exposure that led to the injury or the illness. All these are better served through that classification, but what I wanted you to do is actually identify a technique. Some of you just talked about the classification, and I started out scoring those lower, but I ended up improving all of them. And some of you were spot on. I totally trusted. Others, it was quite a stretch. And some of you didn't put anything. As far as then, but the lowest was because if you were off by the technique, the solutions the causal factors, which was the C3, conducting an investigation, describe the causal agents, that was the lowest because you got kind of messed up. Your technique didn't allow you. But there is something I'm going to say about this one, and that is that some of you already have experience in the field. And I think that inhibited your ability to think freely on this. Some of you, what you did is, and I commented on this, is that some of you kind of knew what the solution would be, and so therefore you sort of backtracked what the problem was based on the solution. So the lack of the solution being there was the cause. That's not the way you practice safety. The difference between a practitioner and a professional is a professional will ensure an unbiased, thorough evaluation, a systematic evaluation, whereas a practitioner will tend to operate by rules of thumb. And if you are predicting what the solution should be and that the cause is the lack of the solution, you're really practicing by heuristics or rule of thumb. I would advise you against that. Sure, it has worked in the past. Sure, sometimes you'll be correct. But then there'll be those times in which it's not a novel or expected type of situation, and then you're going to be wrong, and you're not going to know why. It's because you didn't go through the steps. I'm a professional because I take the steps. I document it. I work very hard to be unbiased, to be very open to all ideas, and I allow the data to indicate to me what's really going on versus me forcing my knowledge or what I think is going on into the system. And that's what some of you have done. So that's how it went. What an interesting assignment. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know some of you felt that there wasn't enough there. I did give enough there in order to make educated proposals. So this last week, we actually got into, I selected the causes based on, frequency and severity. We went through all the types of standards, both OSHA, ANSI, and then talked about solutions. And so that's what, from here on out, that's what we're going to be doing. Though we're not going to have as much talk as it pertains to cost, frequency, and things like that. We kind of hit them a lot this week, and a little bit coming into the next week. So machine guarding, lockout, takeout, welding, cutting safety, and compressed gases, fire prevention, protection, hazardous materials, and then more of a transition into health, which is bloodborne pathogens, first aid, and heat stress. So that's what we have for our 5 topics in Module 4 coming up. I want to point out that at the top of the Week 4 assignment, I want you to make your case study proposal, where you're going to do it and what you're going to focus on. For the people who've already submitted it, I think there's been 6. Only half of you have actually done that. If you already submitted it and you didn't provide that, please email me. I just want to make sure you guys have a good idea of what you want to do. We are halfway at this point, but then again, we're on Friday of Week 4. So I also, along with that idea of proposing the case study, where you want to do it, what you want to do, I want you to think about that the whole purpose of the case study is to perform a real-world assessment. I want you to refer to the Oakley textbook as far as which technique you're doing. If you're doing pre-accident, then an events and causal approach is good. But you can also use the cause and effect if you know sort of what the factors or the conditions you're concerned about, right? Make sure once you collect your observations or whatever you're collecting, evaluate them against the standards or valid resources, make determinations what the potential is for harm, make recommendations based on those determinations, and then finally discuss your experience. That's the case study. I'll talk about it more, but because we're getting into Week 4, you're already in it, I want you to be thinking about all these things. I'll be able to provide one more review video post Week 4, going into Week 5. I'll have the Week 6 3 lectures posted, and then before I leave for the conference, I'll make sure that the final exam is open and remind you guys to take the course survey, which is sent out to you by email from the university. So that's everything I got. If you got questions, please reach out to me. I really enjoy when you guys contact me and ask questions. A lot of you have been very good with that. So thank you. Have a good weekend.